Now coming to the points to explain under kingdom Monera. So as I already told you, this includes bacteria. The bacteria can be rods, cocci, comma or spirillum. I showed you a picture before in the previous image. If you want to see, you can just make a note. You can see. So these are rod shaped. And these are cocci. Cocci are spherical. Okay. And we can find certain bacteria in comma shape or some spirillum. Spirillum is like a spring. So rods, common example are Escherichia coli, which is a normal commensal of human, which means they are normally present in our gut. And cocci example, Staphylococcus aureus, which is again a normal commensal in our skin. Comma shaped example is Vibrio cholerae, that causes cholera in human. And spirillum, we have many like Treponema pallidum. They are all STDs, sexually transmitted disease causing bacteria. Then we have the next form. So kingdom Monera will include types of bacteria. Archibacterium. Archi meaning old form. So archi meaning old form of bacteria. And under this we have different varieties of bacteria. So it includes halophiles, thermoacidophiles, methanogens. So halophiles meaning there are certain bacteria which live in salt, saline solution. Even saline, which means they can even survive in ocean or sea. And few bacteria, they live in even in the lava, hot lava or volcano. The lava erupts, right? So it can even live in that. So they are called thermoacidophiles. Okay, so they live in hot springs. And there are certain bacteria called methanogens. Methanogens are methane producing bacteria. These methanogens are especially found in herbivore, grass eating animal like ruminants. You can find these methanogens in the stomach of cow. That is why the dung of cow is used in production of biogas. So these methanogens, they play a major role in digesting cellulose, because these herbivores, they eat grass which are highly rich in cellulose. And one more, you can find this methanogens in sewage, and they are highly toxic to human. So when a sewage is dumped and suddenly if it is open, you can find the methane expelling out. That is the reason why people die when they clean the drainage system. So methanogens are highly toxic to human. Then comes eubacteria. So eubacteria, eu meaning true. Example, blue-green algae, which is also called as cyanobacterium. So these are basically photosynthetic autotrophs. So what do you mean by photosynthetic? They have chloroplast bearing chlorophyll and they help in the production of their own food. Then coming to heterocysts. So these heterocysts are just a sheet. Some bacteria, especially the blue-green algae or the cyanobacterium, will have a sheet-like outer covering. You call that outer covering as the heterocyst. So these bacteria will heterocyst will help in fixing nitrogen. So certain bacteria that convert chemical for their energy, you call those bacteria as chemosynthetic bacteria. Chemo meaning chemicals and synthetic bacteria. So I think we have discussed this nitrogen fixation in our previous classes. Like there are certain bacteria, not only bacteria, usually microbes, they break down the complex form of nitrogen into simpler forms of nitrogen so that the plant utilize. So those bacteria that were responsible in turning the complex form of nitrogen into simpler forms are called chemosynthetic bacteria. So where do they do? It is done within the heterocyst. Then few bacteria are heterotrophic bacteria, which means they are totally dependent on the other for their food. So saprophytes. So heterotrophic bacteria include saprophytes, which means they grow on dead and decay. And some bacteria can even help in fermentation. So what do you mean by fermentation? The normal thing that we happen in our daily routine every day. Batter that changes the idli dosa batter undergoes fermentation for usage, and even the milk turning into curd. So all these process converting sugar molecule into ethanol. So that is done by bacteria, and few bacteria that are used in the production of antibiotics all come under kingdom Monera. And there are certain pathogenic strains too, like mycoplasma. Not only mycoplasma, we have many different bacteria that causes diseases. Those bacteria also come under kingdom Monera. So this mycoplasma, it causes walking pneumonia. What is that walking pneumonia? Pneumonia is a lung disorder, and the person who are infected with this bacteria, mycoplasma pneumonia, they will expel out aerosols or droplets. So when we sneeze or when we cough, you can find water droplets coming out from our mouth or nose. So those droplets will carry these bacteria, which can easily spread from the infected individual to the other, and they can float in the air too. So these pathogenic strains also come under kingdom Monera. And coming to the reproduction part, they mostly reproduce through asexual mode of reproduction like fission and sporulation, and few undergo sexual mode of reproduction. So here we don't have gametes. Instead of gametes, DNA gets transferred from one bacteria into the other bacteria. So probably you will read this in your upcoming chapters. Okay. So this is about kingdom Monera. Then comes kingdom Protista. So kingdom Monera, we had an idea about that it carried all kind of bacteria. But kingdom Protista is not well defined. Only thing is given is our mode of reproduction. So it undergoes asexual as well as sexual mode of reproduction. So under kingdom Monera, under kingdom Protista, we have certain varieties like chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoan. So first we'll go with dinoflagellates. So I'm just highlighting all those important terms so you can make a note. So wherever you come across this word, so you can have an idea that this is what you're going to read. Okay. So dinoflagellates are usually marine. So you know what is marine? They grow in sea. Photosynthetic. So again, so these are the repeated terms you will come across everywhere. So if you know the meaning of that, it is easily understandable. Photosynthetic meaning it has chloroplast for the production of food, and they carry pigments. So obviously not only photosynthetic pigment, they also carry different pigments like brown, blue or red depending upon the type of cell. And they have a highly stiff cell wall. So these dinoflagellates will have a stiff cell wall, and it has two flagella. So I said kingdom Protista will have flagella. So flagella meaning it has a whip-like structure that helps in movement, and they release toxins. So few organisms under this dinoflagellates, they produce toxins. So when these dinoflagellates enter into the animal, it can release certain toxins and be infectious also. So toxic meaning some poisonous substances that are released from the body of dinoflagellates. The next variety is euglenoids. So they grow in freshwater habitat, and here you found the cell wall is stiff and they carry pigments, and here you can find the cell wall is made up of pellicle, which is a type of protein. Then they are photosynthetic, heterotrophic. So photosynthetic meaning it can undergo its own food, it can prepare its own food, and few are heterotrophic. So under this variety, few are photosynthetic and few are heterotrophic. Predators. What do you mean by predators? They engulf food from the other. So how you could have read in amoeba, they engulf food. So the same way, few organisms here also act as a predator. Example is euglena. I think even yesterday I told you euglena will come under photosynthetic as well as they act as a predator. And they have pigments. So these euglena will carry certain pigments which are similar to the higher plants. Next is the slime molds. It includes saprophytic protist. So what do you mean by saprophytic? They grow on dead. So these organisms, these slime molds, so you can see, so if you have a tumbler of water and you don't use it for a long time, you can find some slimy layer growing. So those layer can either be bacteria or it can be molds, slime molds. So slime is that பிசு பிசுப்புன்னு சொல்லுவோம்ல, அதுதான் slime. So you have that slime associated, they grow along with the dead and decayed. Then is plasmodium. So what is plasmodium? We have a parasite plasmodium, but these slime, when they aggregate, when the group of organisms club together, you call that as plasmodium. Okay, so when these clubbed organisms grow, they result in the formation of spores. So that formation of spores, you call it as fruit bodies. I think we would have read it early, like fungi will have spores. So you know only fungi bearing spores, but even bacteria can also have spores. So molds are a form of fungi. It's a type of fungi. So which has spores, they are highly resistant. So even when you subject those fungi under high temperature, those fungi cannot die because of the resistant structure called spores. Next, coming to protozoans. So protozoans are heterotrophs. So you know what are heterotrophs? Predators are parasites. It includes certain types of protozoans like amoeboid protozoan. Amoeboid protozoan includes amoeba. So we know about amoeba that it has the outer pseudopodia which helps in locomotion, and it has vacuole that helps in both digestion and excretion. And amoeba will undergo what mode of nutrition? Holozoic mode of nutrition. So they engulf food, you call it as phagocytosis, and intaking food, you call it as endocytosis. So to know more about this, you can refer to digestion in amoeba in my playlist. So the second type is flagellated. Flagellated, as I already told you, few organisms will have flagella for locomotion. So one example is Trypanosoma gambia. So this trypanosoma causes sleeping sickness. So we would have heard this word sleeping sickness early, which means it affects your brain and it reduces your oxygen content. So your oxygen content will be very less to brain, and we always fall sleepy. Since oxygen is less to the brain, we feel tired and sleepy. Then the third type is ciliated. So few organisms are flagellated. Flagella are long structures, whereas ciliated are small structures. So example, paramecium. Then we have the fourth type is sporozoans, which includes plasmodium. So plasmodium causes malaria. So these are the four forms of protozoans: amoeboid protozoan, flagellated protozoan, ciliated protozoan, and sporozoans. Next variety is the chrysophytes. So they are basically photosynthetic, microscopic. They are floating planktons. So floating planktons are their plant-like structure that float in water, and a cell wall is made up of silica, which is highly rigid. So this chrysophytes is a very something different. Why? Because their cell wall are clubbed like a soap tin. I think in your textbook it is referred like a soap box. So we have that clip, right? We have an open and like a box that we use. So we have something that something that it overlaps and they fit together. So it is made up of silica. That is the reason why they are rigid. So they are called as diatomaceous earth, which means you can find these diatoms as white powdery in the earth, which acts as a natural pesticides. So it doesn't allow any other organisms to grow, unwanted organisms to grow along, and they are used as natural pesticides. So kingdom Protista, it is not that well defined except the mode of reproduction. It includes dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans, and chrysophytes.